Ukraine's diaspora recognizes Crimea as Russia. Putin thinks Russian state media's systemic trashing of Ukraine should stop, while fake news and disinformation make a lot of money. Welcome to Stop Fake, the place where we break down Russian disinformation about Ukraine. So let's get to it. Ukrainians from different countries are calling for the lifting of sanctions against Crimea, several Russian media outlets declared last week. Komsomolskaya Pravda claimed that 15 representatives of Ukrainian emigre organizations from various countries announced that the unification of Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula with Russia must be recognized. However, none of the trustworthy organizations representing the Ukrainian diaspora has ever made such a claim. Quite the contrary. Ukrainian emigres speak out with one voice about Russia's illegal occupation of Crimea and continue to call for increased international pressure on Russia. Last week, the Russian Occupation Authority held a roundtable in Crimea entitled Cooperation of Crimean Ukrainians with Compatriots Abroad, and they called the event a meeting of the Ukrainian diaspora. Among the 15 participants from abroad who attended the roundtable were representatives of several post-Soviet countries and, of course, from the self-proclaimed Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, the political constructs of Russian-occupied eastern Ukraine. The roundtable issued a resolution on which Russian media have based their fake stories urging the international community to recognize the reunification of Crimea with the Russian Federation in accordance with international law, but most notably to also condemn the current economic, trade and financial blockade of Crimea and finally to lift the sanctions levied against Crimea. Now, the Ukrainian World Congress, the largest public organization of Ukrainians living outside of Ukraine, has repeatedly condemned the illegal annexations of Crimea and continues to call for extending the sanction regime to increase pressure on Russia. The UWC issued a statement back in May of 2019 that says, quote, "We also call upon the international community to intensify the pressure on Russia, including heightened sanctions to accelerate the de-occupation of Crimea and the release of Oleg Sentsov and all 70 Ukrainian political prisoners who oppose Russian aggression, particularly in Crimea, and the 24 imprisoned Ukrainian sailors." This is not the first time that pro-Kremlin media have tried to create the illusion of international support for the annexation of Crimea, nor will it probably be the last. StopFake has debunked similar claims in the past, and you can find them on our website, stopfake.org. While disinformation provides a lot of work for us here at StopFake, for others, it's an infinite source of money. Websites designed to spread disinformation receive millions of advertising dollars from some of the world's biggest companies, though these businesses are most likely unaware of the issue. According to a study by the London-based Global Disinformation Index, around 20,000 websites are a very dangerous disinformation risk, but they generate an estimated $235 million annually. Clearly, one of the incentives of disinformation is to make money. Advertising revenue has long contributed to the viability of controversial sites, with former aide to President Trump and far-right ideologue Steve Bannon describing it as the main revenue stream for right-wing media in a video published earlier this year. Deutsche Welle has found that ads for major German companies were displayed on websites like Twitchy and Zero Hedge, flagged as sources of disinformation. The companies that had their ads appear on these kinds of sites include railway operator Deutsche Bahn, automaker Opel, Deutsche Telekom, Postbank, and book retailer Thalia, among others. Whether or not these companies are aware their advertising money is essentially funding disinformation is a question that deserves to be investigated. But the study finally sheds some light on the problem with today's digital advertising ecosystem. The research by Deutsche Welle about the nexus between disinformation and legitimate advertising as it affects German companies really should be replicated in other countries. And finally, our colleagues at Polygraph produced a piece about the lying Russian journalist Olga Skabeyeva after Putin suggested that Russia's neighbor, Ukraine, shouldn't be presented in a negative light. Skabeyeva posted a note on Telegram claiming she never maligned Ukraine in her shows on purpose. Here at StopFake, we've shown that disinformation about Ukraine is Russian state media policy. Have a look at Polygraph's quick piece about Skabeyeva's lying, posing as reporting.
Russian President Vladimir Putin was recently asked about TV coverage of Ukraine. He said Russian state media should not cast its closest neighbor in a negative light. Prompting popular Russia 1 television host Olga Skabeyeva to write on Telegram, never presented Ukraine in a negative light on purpose. A study found 1/3 of all news and political talk shows on Russia's top 3 channels are dedicated to Ukraine. Approximately 90% of that coverage was found to be negative. The extent to which Russian TV ignored domestic events to cover Ukraine even sparked a popular meme. While Skabieva herself has insulted Ukraine in her reporting, calling it a ridiculous country and reporting under a Ukrainian circus banner. So despite her denials, Ukraine bashing is clearly Russian state media policy.
That's it for this week. You can find much more dissected disinformation on our website, StopFake.org. And if you like our digest, share it and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and ring the bell to get notified. As always, be vigilant, look out for fakes, and if you spot any disinformation about Ukraine, forward it to us for a truth autopsy. I'm Marko Suprun, and this is StopFake. Thanks for watching.